The reason why we talk about communication is because we're always learning about this. Like Raul and I have been in this relationship for such a long time, yet we still continue to learn like how to communicate.
Learn how to express what you're feeling without projecting your feelings. It's
That's
not what you
hard.
say, but it's how you say it.
That's right.
Right? Because sometimes when there's certain situations, we just react.
This is Vivian Villacis.
And this is Raul Villacis.
Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the God, Money, and Sex Podcast. My name is Vivian Villacis.
My name is Raul Villacis, and we're actually doing this also live on TikTok for the first time. So if you're watching us from TikTok, make sure that you comment, you share, you let us know what you can taken away from this podcast.
Yes.
It's great to see you. Good to see you. Consistency is the key. Even though I was a little bit under the weather at the beginning, I have the energy to do this podcast.
You always do. That's a great thing about you. Like when you say you're going to do something, you do it. And that's why I'm like, okay, I know he's going to do it.
Persistence and consistency. In my
right.
tombstone, I wanted you to
know.
put there, here lies the most consistent motherfucker. That's what I want.
I will. I think I'm even going to start doing it just in case. It's ready.
Okay, so we're going to start off this podcast by saying big shout out to the women. By the time this podcast goes live on YouTube, it's going to be Women's Appreciation Day, right?
Well, Women's Day is March 9th, which is tomorrow. No, wait. What is it? So I think March 8th is Women's Day. I don't even know when Women's Day, because we should celebrate it like every single day. But Women's Day will be officially, I believe, on the 9th, but let's confirm that. But whenever it is, I just want to say, like, there is so much that women do. And, you know, like for me, for a long time, I've been doing this in my ritual, and it's so profound. So for those of you who don't know us, if you're joining us live, I teach women. I'm the co-founder of Ignite Your Passion, and I have this page on Facebook that's called Born to Be a Queen. And I teach my queens how to tap into this energy of gratitude and grace and of anger and whatever emotion you're feeling through. And part of the thing that I do in my ritual is when I really slow down time and I'm with myself, I give gratitude and grace to all the women in my life. And I get to see, you know, from like my great grandmother to my mother, my sister, my healers, my doctors, all of them. And I think that's one of the things that I love about Women's Day is like, how do we really give women the celebration that they deserve? And I know it's celebrated like this one day because it's like officially, which I don't even know like exactly what day it is, but just to know that like women do so much. You know, whether it's something to do with like pioneers that have given back in time and in, you know, medical fields and in the court system and in equality for women. Like there's so much that has happened for us as women that we need to learn how to find grace, love, and gratitude to take in what's really ours and then also to let go what's not.
You know, I feel that like Tupac said it best, like we all came from our women and we have to love our women, you know? And he has a great song about it, right? So, you know, I always say I'm doing women's work by helping men lead because that's the biggest problem for every woman.
That's right.
To every woman is like, my problem is men. So I'm helping men get this shit together so we could leave this world a better place for women.
March 8th. Officially is March 8th.
Beautiful. So shout out to women. Women's Day. We all came from our women, appreciate our women, love our women, and most important, protect our women. Like we need to, as men, step up our game to protect our women, to hold the space, to help them see that, you know, we're not the enemy.
Of course.
That in this world where there's a lot of separation, like men over here, women over here, you know, black, white, you know, Democrat, Republican. No, at this level of the game, we should learn to know that we live in this world together. We gotta learn how to coexist, how to help each other, become better, because that's what we're going to be able to survive.
So one of the things that I want to say, just to add to that, is because I am surrounded by the men that you teach, whether it's an event or something, there's been a couple of times that men have come up to me and said, like, you know, Vivian, a lot of the times women, they want to be in this equality and be like men. But why are they doing that when women are their own, like, they're goddesses of this world, and if they're ever changing to be something that they're not, they're losing everything that we're fighting for. So men are fighting for us women to be more radiant and loving and, just be us. And then we're trying to be more like men because we want to have more and do more and be more, when I would say, like, coming back, and that's the reason why my program is remembering to be the queen, because once we remember that, it's like we don't need a lot of that stuff. It's just coming back and remembering, like, who did God create us to be? And then it's like, okay, I got this. Like, I am so much more than I could ever imagine. Like, there is no competition between man and woman. We are
complementing each other.
Yeah, like, we're just so much
that's
together.
The whole key, and that's the reason that I believe there's so many sexless marriages, because there's no polarity.
Right.
Men want to be men and women want to be men, energetically. So therefore, there is no attraction. So we need, in order for it to be polarity, you need the feminine and you need the masculine, right? So give yourself the permission as men to be the masculine, to be the provider, to be the protector, to be the one that's going out there and killing the dragon. And women allow themselves to be the feminine energies, that the healers, the one that has empathy, the ones that have love, the ones that are going to hold the space for men when we don't have our shit together.
Right.
I think that's what you do for me the most. The feminine energy allows me to just take a deep breath and say, you know what? This is worth fighting for.
That's right.
I come back from the war. I come back from the battlefield, and you're there to stitch me back up and put me right back the next day.
And not to say that women are not capable of doing those things, because, like, all these women, like, we're talking about Women's Day, right? Like, there's so many women that I can think of that have put their lives to get to the place where we are able to do so much more, because, we're standing on shoulders of this amazing women. But I think, so often we forget that our best qualities of being a woman, like, we tend to forget them. We tend to put them aside. And I think that's something that now, like, I'm in this journey of remembering, like, and once I go back and I pick up those qualities of my feminine traits, they are so powerful. And again, like, if you're listening to this, we're not saying that the feminine is the wrong thing, or it's less than,
or is the weaker
sex. Thing. There is so
actually,
much
I think it's the opposite. I think women discount their feminine energy's power. We were just skiing with a couple of the guys that are part of the inner circle, and we're talking. We were sitting in the hot tub watching the mountains, and it was a beautiful setting.
Yeah.
And we're talking about how our women really support the vision that we have, and no visionary was ever able to do anything without the support of a woman that said, I'm going to hold down the fort for you. I'm going to be there for you. I'm going to hold the space for you to level up. So I think if you listen to this, if you're a woman, just don't discount your power. You have so much power. You have no idea why this man is going to level up, because you believe in him. That's the one thing that you did for me. You started to believe in me before I believe in myself. So the moment that when a man has a woman that believes in him, he will do anything in his power to be able to accomplish what he sets out to accomplish.
I love that.
So happy Women's Day.
Yes.
All right, so let's go to the topic of today. Daniel, you have the video. Vivian, you shared this video with me earlier. You wanted to discuss that we always talk about communication, right? We just finished doing a training that we're going to launch. Hopefully by the time the podcast is out, we put a link in here for the training, is how to ignite your passion in your relationship, right? And one of the key things is communication. So this doctor actually had a different take of communication. So Daniel, if you could share that for us.
We're not on the same page. We need to be.
No, from the beginning.
It's not all about communication.
From the beginning.
About communication. What do you think about that? Or at least a successful one is all about communication. What do you think about that one?
It's horse shit, man.
This one is complete garbage on multiple levels. But there's actually a book, a really fascinating book called How to Fix Your Marriage Without Talking About It. And the whole book, the premise is that there's so many studies that show that communication is not the key to a successful relationship, that in many cases in an unhealthy environment, talking about the problem more actually makes it worse.
It makes it worse because you're just feeding the toxicity over and over and over again.
And yet you go to weddings, you go to any place. I mean, even professionals still haven't got the message from like the researchers that marriage is not all about communication. You constantly hear this. You hear it from friends. You hear it in wedding toasts. You hear it from other professionals, which is the most disturbing of all. We're not on the same page.
All right.
We need to be.
All right, Daniel.
It's not all about communication.
That's what we need. What do you think? What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, listen, that's what we're always talking about, right? Like communication. And to me, that's one of the biggest things that I'm unlearning, how to communicate. There is no right or wrong way. And, the more that I get to talk to women, it's like for us, the feminine trait, like we need to have this communication. We need to get like all this stuff like out of our chest, out of our brain, out of our bodies. Because if that doesn't happen, then it's like we need to fix something. I do agree that if we have so much negative and so much conflict and we continue to talk about it, it's just like, okay, who wants to talk about this subject? One of the things that I tell the women that I teach is this. It's kind of like an analogy that even comes back to like me all the time. Imagine like this dirty dishes in a sink, and you don't want to even wash these dishes, but the moment that you put some gloves on and you have like the dish soap and you start to wash these dishes, and then everything comes into like, okay, plain view, and you have like some sort of organization, you've taken the time. And I know this always happens to me, like when I'm washing the dishes, I'm like thinking things through and, just putting stuff away. And then by the time I'm done, I only have 2 or 3 dishes, and it's like, okay, I feel good about it. Then I could deal with it. Kind of the same thing if we're having this communication, if we're having these arguments. Like, I don't want to bring everything that we need to argue about, to communicate about. There are a couple things, like key points that I need to bring into this relationship. These are the 3, 4 things that we need to talk about that I need to have some sort of solution to.
The way I look at it is that communication alone is not enough. Just like love is not enough.
Of course.
Right. So if you're communicating, and eventually the communication is going to become more like nagging. Because
if you talk about it the same thing,
you talk about the same thing, and there's no solution. Especially for men, the way I look at it is, give me something that I could fix, and I will fix it.
Yeah,
but if
it's
you're
not
constantly
always
giving
about
me
fixing.
something that I cannot fix, then what's the point?
But maybe I'm just talking to you because I need to vent. That's what I tell like my queens, like, do the work yourself. Don't bring all the dirty dishes to the relationship and the communication. Bring the dishes that really need some addressing to. Bring the topics, bring the things that really like, it is holding me down. I need to really like have this communication. Another thing that happens is sometimes, like I see this in relationships, the men kind of just withdraw, right? It's like they just completely shut down, move away, go to another room, or just stop talking. And it comes to the other side of the story where maybe your man is not talking back to you because he doesn't want to be rude to you, because he doesn't know what to say. He doesn't know how to react. And then we get even like mad or pissed off, and then we just make up another story of what we were going to communicate about something. Now we just added it to the story because he withdrew from the conversation.
So I will say, learn how to express what you're feeling without projecting your feelings. It's
That's
not
hard.
what you say, but it's how you say it.
That's right.
Right? Because sometimes when there's certain situations, we just react. And I find myself, especially for me, one of my biggest teachers is my daughter. My daughter, she's a teenager, and she teaches me every single day how to become a better man. Because she is very into her feelings. She has a very feminine energy around her. So whatever I say, it will trigger the fear. Mm-hmm. So it allows me to be more present to, like, am I reacting? I mean, we just recently had a conversation a couple of weeks ago, and you were like, what's the point? Why do you react to this conversation? Because I said, if we're going to fix something, I need to fix it. And then you give me the feedback saying, if you say it this way, she's going to be afraid of you, as opposed to come and tell you the truth or come talk to you. And as men, we don't want to react to the point that you're now afraid to tell me certain things because of you're afraid of how I'm going to react.
Great point. Because when you're communicating, and by the way, like, the reason why we talk about communication is because we're always learning about this. Like, Raul and I have been in this relationship for such a long time, yet we still continue to learn like how to communicate. And
we just had an argument a couple weeks ago.
Thing.
Like, we're just like,
ongoing.
We argue all the time about communication. That's why I think that what he's saying is wrong, because you have to learn how to communicate.
You do. So then one of the things I would say is you need to understand whether your partner is like a passive communicator or an aggressive communicator. Because they are, like, I know, like, for me, when I start to communicate, and when I'm most of the time I'm very, like, chill. But when I start to communicate about something, I would say I'm pretty like aggressive about my conversation style. And it's not that I'm mad. It's just like, I'm aggressive about it. Yet you on the other side, sometimes you tend to be very passive. Like you're very like, you've kind of gone internal and you've thought it through, and then you have the conversation, right? That's
because if I'm aggressive, it comes out the wrong way. It comes out like...
Because you've done that in the past.
Because I've done it in the past. So I've learned to just take it in. Okay. Let me just check to see in my mind, how is this going to sound before I say it?
That's right.
Before I just say it, I'm like, oh shit, I shouldn't have said that, or shouldn't have said it this way. Now I process it. Just give me some time. Let me see, especially with Abigail.
Yes.
Especially with my daughter. Like I've learned in the past, I've done that. And she's giving me the feedback that's not the way to communicate, again, with the feminine energy. Now, with Alejandro, or my son, I communicate totally like...
Very direct.
Very direct. And he does it to me, I do it to him, and there is no animosity because we both are communicating the way that we both like to be communicated on.
And I think that's really important to, when you're not in an argument and when you're not communicating because of a problem, like actually acknowledge that and say that, like, because I tell Abigail, this is something like I had to learn too, like the tonality of the way that we speak to each other is sometimes totally different, right? So then I've told you and I've told my son, like the way that you talk to me, if you raise your voice, I automatically think that you're mad at me. And then I want to get defensive, or I think like, well, what happens if someone's going to hurt me right now? You're probably not going to protect me because you're already mad at me.
Subconsciously, you're already creating a story.
Right. So I've already created another story.
Without having all the facts in front.
So then that's what like I tell my son and I tell you, like, I know how you are, but please don't raise your voice when we're having this conversation. And I think you've done an amazing job at going internal, having the conversation yourself, and then speaking out whatever it is. For me, it's the opposite because I am so internal, meaning like my energy level comes from inside. I actually become external when I'm fighting because I'm like, if I don't say this right now, I'm not going to say it. I'm going to keep it inside and I'm never going to tell you how I feel. And then I'm going to build some sort of resentment because I'm not speaking my truth.
So give you an example. We were talking with my son the other day about going to the gym, right?
Right.
And he said, yeah, I'm going to go to the gym with you. And I said, okay, let's go to the gym. And then an hour later, I said, okay, let's, you say you're going to the gym. You want to go? I said, no, I don't want to go. But okay, so I went to the gym, right? And I did what I had to do. Had it been my daughter, it would have been a complete different, if it was the other way around.
Right.
If my daughter would have had a plan with him and he said, no, I don't want to go to the gym, she would have thought he was mad. Or why is it that she didn't want to go to the gym?
It's something that I did.
What did I do wrong?
Yeah.
Right? So now if I have a plan we just had a plan with Abigail the other day. And I picked her up from school. I picked her up from her job. We went to dinner. I asked her where she wants to go. And we did everything that she wanted to do. And we just had an amazing time. There was no conflict because I was there to be with her and spend quality time because that's her love language. Communication of the love, knowing the love language is key for us to be able to build that connection. Mm-hmm. My son, his love language is words of appreciation. My daughter's love language is quality time.
And that's important to really know that too, because in that way you get to communicate the way that the person feels loved. Like if you're in a relationship, sometimes I look at it like it's like you've said this to me, like it's like a living plant, a living organism. And if you're not feeding it, if you're not taking care of it, then it's actually going to die. And I think a lot of the relationships right now are dying because we're not feeding it, we're not watering it, we're not treating it as this living organism that needs love, that needs attention. We're just, doing like the bare minimum. And if you just, if you're listening to this and you start to even communicate and to have these conversations, it makes such a change in the relationship.
So let's give us some insights of, I want to share like these 3 things that I could think of that I've done to improve my communication skills.
Okay.
Number 1 is play it in your head what you're going to say. Before you say it, play it in your head and see, like, is this helping me? Am I making a point? And am I destroying or creating? So that's the internal conversation I have in my mind. What I'm about to say right now, is it going to create an outcome that I want? Or is it going to destroy what I want?
Okay. I love that. I love that. For me, I would say one of the hardest things for us women and the queens, and I thought it was just me, but it's also like now it's a pattern, so I know it's not just me. I'm not alone. Is having a clear ask. When we are fighting for something, we kind of just tend to like fluff it with all these things around it. And really like when I let go of all those things, I get down to the root problem of what I'm feeling. And then I have to step into this place that I feel so vulnerable to tell you like, hey, listen, the reason why I'm fighting for this is because I feel like I'm a shitty mom, or because you're not going to love me if I show you this, or whatever it is that I'm fighting for. But the really like the root cause or feeling is because I am not enough. I don't feel worthy of it. And when I really get to that, it's like, okay, if I say it out loud, if I have that clear ask of why I'm fighting for this or why, you know, we're in this situation, then everything else kind of just falls out of the way. And then we could have this communication.
And that creates connection because
Right.
you're being real, you're being authentic, and you're being vulnerable.
Yes, so a
Like
clear ask.
The third one for me would be just know that women tend to over-communicate, men tend to, what's the opposite of over-communicate? Not communicate at all.
Withdraw.
Right? Withdraw. So I would
Yeah.
say to men, like, over-communicate. Like the most fights that I have with you has been when I'm not communicating with you enough that you don't know where we're going, you don't know what we're doing, you don't know what the outcome is. So the search, it comes in, like, over-communicate. Like with men and the women, maybe the feedback is don't over-communicate. Just learn how to say just enough to be able to get him connected to where you want to go.
I think it's a great point what you said. I wouldn't say over communicate, because then for men are going to be like, oh my God, I'm not doing that. That's just another thing to do in my relationship. But I would say just be clear, like have a clear communication, because I know like sometimes you don't over communicate to me, but you tell me exactly what I need to hear.
I over communicate according to what I believe I need to communicate.
So just like if you're listening to this, over communicate doesn't mean like you have to talk for like 5-10 hours.
Or tell her everything.
Yeah.
You just tell her more than we usually would tell.
Yeah,
like we
I
just
like
had a
that.
conversation with our guys that we're launching a new program called the Corporate Edge, where we're bringing the edge to companies.
Nice.
And we had like 3 new guys that came on board, and none of them had any details on what we're gonna do.
They're just trusting the
But
process.
they trusted the process. They trust me because they've already had an experience
Of
with me.
course, because you bring results.
So now in this conversation, then we go through what the process is going to be, and then we map out the outcomes, right?
Yeah.
But if so for men, sometimes just the communication that we need from women is, what is the outcome? What is the outcome? So don't tell me all the other little things that are going to lead me to the outcome. If you want to tell me what the outcome is, I'll go with you as long as there's an outcome. So with these guys, if I would have told them all the little details, they probably said it's way too much work. But I told them, here's the outcome. Here's what we're going to do. There are 3 things we're going to accomplish at the end of this experience. There's 3 things. Okay, I'm on board. I'm all in. Let's go. And they get excited. But if I tell them all the details, we get discouraged sometimes because it's too much. So for men, we just give me an outcome. Give me something that I could aim for so I could shoot and I could kill, that I could feel like I could win. I'm on board.
So you need to have like a final destination. Like where's all this going to lead? And I think, you know, sometimes as women, like we get lost in like all the details because we feel like the more details that I give you, maybe the more that you're going to understand, the more that you're going to hear me. But I would say, you know, in that too, it's like for men, it's like sometimes you don't listen. So allow yourself to really listen to what women are saying, because we're communicating for a reason. And, you know, relationships are one of our greatest teachers. Like they teach us so much. And I know for me, in this past however many years we've been together, like it's taught me patience. It's taught me like how to listen. And Raul doesn't talk a lot, but when he talks, like I put my antennas up and I was like, okay, what is he going to say? Must be really important. So I'm going to pay attention. And that's something that we don't do in relationships. Like we stop listening to each other because we're like, oh, I already heard him, or he already said it, or he's probably not going to say enough. Start changing that mentality. Start thinking like whatever he's going to say must be important. Whatever she's going to say, it's going to be important. Let me listen.
And the most important thing that I could share with you is make time for communication. Like for us, like our date nights, that's the time that you could talk all you want, and I'll listen all night long because I love being with you.
You're too funny. I don't talk that much.
So that's it. Communication is key,
Yes.
but communication is not enough. Just like love is not enough. Just like just having God in your life or just money or sex. You have to have everything. God, money, and sex. You have to have communication. You have to have commitment. You have to have certainty. You have to have connection in order for you to build that passion that you need in your relationship.
That's right.
So thank you for watching this podcast.
Yes.
Make sure that you comment.
Yes.
Make sure you do subscribe and you share this content because that's how we are able to do more of this.
Definitely.
I appreciate every single one of you. Learn it.
Live it. Experience it. Love life. This is Vivian Villacis.
And this is Raul Villacis.
Welcome to the podcast.